What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bingetown TV. This is Brian here with my co-hosts, producer Dave and Paul. And today we are very excited to be stepping back into the universe of Amazon's The Boys. This is going to be the first 3 episodes of season 4. Like I said, we are so excited to be talking about this show again. Before we dive into these first 3 episodes, just a couple housekeeping items. Whether you found us on our The Boys specific feed or our main Bingetown TV feed, I do want to reroute you over to that Bingetown TV feed. There you can find all the shows we've covered in the past, including a couple of the previous seasons of The Boys, as well as Gen V, and a bunch of other good stuff I'm sure you would like. So if you like what you hear for the next hour or so, go check us out over on the Bingetown TV main feed. You can also check us out on bingetowntv.com. That has our entire backdated library. But I don't want to spend too much time on housekeeping because, like I said, as has become Amazon's MO, they dropped the first 3 episodes for us to quench our thirst. We have been dying for more The Boys content, and we finally have it. I'm very excited to be talking about this show again, but I've been flapping my gums long enough, so I am going to turn it over to Dave and Paul for their initial takes on the season. Just point blank, how are you guys feeling from the first 3 episodes?
He said my name first. I go first. Also, good to be back on the Boys podcast. It's actually been a couple seasons. I think I was on it for season 2. We didn't cover season 1 of the Boys. We weren't sure how well the show was going to hit at the time. So once we saw season 1, we were like, okay, we have to bring it to the podcast. I was on season 2, was not on for season 3. So it has been a while. I just want to let the audience members know that this is absolutely a top 3 show of all time without question for me. I just love the gruesomeness that the show has to bring. We always see, we're used to blood and guts and all that, but for some reason when this show does it, I always am like gasping. I'm so shocked all the time at what the minds of the boys are capable of doing in terms of just gore. And it's a treat, man. I really do love this show. I'm so glad to be back on and just gushing over this. B-Times, you said this might be an hour. I'm going to hold you against that because there's no way we're cramming 3 episodes into an hour, but I'll be proud of us if we can get it to an hour. But go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, it's great to be back. Like you were saying, we wet our whistle a little bit with Gen V, and that was a really good show. We covered it. We had a blast covering it, but it's just not the same as The Boys, right? With our crew, with Homelander, there's just something about this chemistry and this cast. It's every moment there's a joke thrown in there or a subtle nod to something else. It's the attention to detail and obvious satire is, it made its own genre of TV. I feel like it's breaking boundaries left and right. So I loved it. It was phenomenal. Like Dave said, of course, in these, only first 3 episodes, we got so many bloody and gory scenes. I mean, that's just, trademark Boys as well. But to add a little bit of, I wouldn't say add pressure, but just to make sure that we know what we have while we have it, it was announced that there will only be 5 seasons for The Boys, definitely. So this is the second to last season. I'm happy and sad at the same time. I want them to end it on a good note. But, season 4, it seems like they haven't really skipped too much of a beat, man. They're jumping right into it. Loved everything about these 3 episodes. We're going to try to cover as much as we can. We might not hit on every detail on these first 3, but we're going to gush a lot. And so hopefully we hit one of your favorite scenes here.
Yeah, and I don't want to be the only downer of the group. There have been a couple reviews that have been saying, oh, it's like a 7 out of 10. It maybe doesn't reach the high standard that it has set over the previous 3 seasons. And I somewhat agree with that. This show has always done a great job of the political comparisons or the pop culture references or what have you. Maybe it just seems a little bit too on the nose this season. It through 3 episodes, for me, I kind of feel like a show that's trying too hard to recreate the magic that it had the prior 3 seasons. But do not get this confused with The Boys slander. I just hold this show to the highest bar of excellence. I still think these first 3 episodes were incredibly enjoyable. So yeah, I'm just really excited to be back here.
I will agree. There is, I mean, some moments, not bad moments, but a little questionable. It feels a little weird. We'll kind of get into it more and be like, hey, that doesn't really make sense. But I see what you're talking about, and we can agree. But like you're saying, my God, how good is it to see Anthony Starr on TV in that suit again? Homelander just he scratches only an itch he can scratch. Like he's amazing.
He is such a scene stealer when it comes to his portrayal of Homelander. Every time Homelander's on screen, my butt cheeks, I feel like I'm clenching them for the characters on the screen, because you never know when he's just going to snap, because it's been this way for about like a season and a half now fully, where Homelander is just on the verge of just breaking out. Like he has these moments where, okay, things are going my way. Maybe I can settle that, like just, ride this wave, but no, something will happen to him and he'll just lose his mind even more. Oh,
and I don't think that's ever been more the case than right now in the series, because we are coming off of the heels of the end of season 3, where he lasers a guy in the light of day. Everybody sees it and the crowd cheers him on. So that is kind of one of several ongoing storylines that they are picking right back up in the beginning of season 4. And indeed, our opening scene is actually Victoria Newman, who now on the Bob Singer ticket is on election day, and her and Singer are just cleaning up all of the states. They are ascending to the White House. Obviously, Victoria Newman, our head popper, is going to be the VP, which spells trouble for the country, for the boys, for everybody. But this opening scene is just a great welcome back, because Homelander's here, Newman's here, the boys are in there, the boys element, but it looks a little different. One of the biggest elements of this season so far has been Butcher has been demoted. He is now just a role player in the boys. He is no longer spearheading, commanding the group. That goes to How are you guys feeling about that?
I think Butcher has made a lot of mistakes in the past, and he never really learns. And that was kind of the case also in season 3 at the end. He brings Soldier Boy to Vought, and he has this huge plan to get rid of Homelander, and he stutters again because of Ryan, which I get, but Butcher is always thinking of like one path to destruction, but then doesn't ever follow through completely on that path to destruction, or he follows through too much to the point where it gets the other boys members in trouble. So I'm fine with him being in this quote unquote timeout. I think it's about time, to be honest. Butcher, not that anyone in the show I dislike by any means, but Butcher had lost some brownie points with me over the course of the end of last season. I would say, especially, he got Hughie roped in to like the whole Temp V thing. Sure, he kind of saved him temporarily, but he did continue to hide that secret from him, yada, yada. So I think Butcher's right to be demoted here.
Yeah. I see MM's point, because he is trying to do things right, and Butcher's way too much of a wild card. Just throw the whole plan out the window in a moment's notice and do something crazy. And MM is who he is. He's literally reading a book constantly throughout the season called like How to Battle OCD. So he needs to stick to the plan. He's got to have the plan. So I understand where he's coming from. And I also understand that Butcher kind of needs to be kept in check. But at the same time, MM and Butcher have a conversation, and it was after the whole Firecracker incident, and Butcher saying to MM, you can't be the leader because you're too good. You're too good of a guy. You should have left me. You should have actually let me grab Sage and interrogate her. Like, sometimes you need to do bad things in order to get your results. You're not going to win all the time without being one of the bad guys per se.
And I think the boys have been so successful because they operate in that gray area that is allowed to them, because Butcher is their leader. And MM can be kind of that moral compass in the background, but Butcher has been that guy, and he's gotten them through a lot. And Paul, that conversation you're talking about happens, I think, in episode 2. And then it kind of gets set into motion in episode 3, where there's that crazy Vought on Ice scene where Homelander becomes privy to them, and he almost gets Hughie, you know, like MM
Mhm.
puts him right in the face of danger and he's trying to do it the right way, but you know, maybe Butcher wouldn't have allowed that. I don't know. It's a new look for MM, it's a new look for Butcher, and going along with this Butcher thread, we have this new character, Joe Kessler, who comes out of the woodworks now that Butcher is a little bit more of a free agent and can operate outside of the boys. What do we think about this Joe Kessler character? I guess he's from Langley, which right when he said all of Langley's going for him, I was like, oh, my American Dad boys are going to be all over that.
Damn fucking right we are.
That's awesome. No, yeah, he is CIA as well, just a different sector, I guess. There's different section, whole different team on who he answers to. So they've obviously worked together before, but Kessler seems like early Butcher in the sense that, you know, we need to kill these soups. They're more of a threat than they are, you know, human beings. So we need to kill them no matter what. Basically, his whole interaction with Butcher right now is, hey, we need you to get close to Ryan and just kind of keep an eye on him, try to make him, bring him to the good side. But one of the last conversations they have is Kessler saying, hey, man, you fucked up. You didn't get Ryan and whatever, you have another chance to make it right. But if you can't, we need to take him out because he
Right.
can't be a threat. So what Kessler looked like an ally in the beginning, like a good buddy, you son of a bitch, like high five, hugged kind of situations. Seems like he's going to be more butting heads in the future more than helpful.
Well, do
Yeah,
you guys think that his mentality about Ryan is necessarily wrong? Because this is one, coincidentally, one of the one instances where Butcher's morality gets in the way is the Becca of it all. Like, he cannot come to terms with harming Ryan because he was so in love with Becca and he owes it to her. And that Ryan interference cost him cost him a shot at Homelander in season 3. So like, you know, I see where Kessler's coming from. He's kind of like an objective perspective. Yeah, this kid can either be an asset for us or he can be Homelander 2.0, and we can't allow him to be Homelander 2.0. Do you get what I'm saying?
look, Ryan is definitely, his whole story is definitely one of the ethics side to me. It's because Joe Kessler, I don't imagine is just going to be like, yeah, like we'll train him. It'll be a nice, easy process for the kid. He's going to be raised with so much love and support. That's not what I'm taking away from it. I think they're going to just run tests on this guy, try and train him to be the perfect soldier like they try and did with Homelander. It's just going to be a whole mistake of Homelander 2.0 if they get that. So, like, I get that there are people in the world that want to, you know, train soups or whatever and make them weapons of destruction. Like, I get the sides that everyone is on, but we got to think of the morality here of everyone, whether they're superhuman. And Ryan is just unfortunately just a kid. And I don't think what he has in mind in terms of training is going to be anything pleasant. So I'm not against Joe Kessler yet, but definitely keeping my eyes on him, I'd say.
And he seems to be operating independent of Mallory as well,
Yes,
because
correct.
Mallory is now the head of the CIA or the FBI, but she is like a go-to consultant for Bob Singer, who obviously, now that he knows Newman is the head popper, Bob Singer just wants her to die. So all of the FBI, CIA, all of these agencies are working towards killing Newman. But Kessler kind of seems like independent to that. And he references, you know, a lot of people are saying that Butcher, you got benched at the worst possible time. So he doesn't seem to be alone in his thinking.
He is 100% the gas to Butcher's fire, flame, whatever you want to call it, because Butcher is already just a wild card. And this guy's just full encouraging Butcher to just continue being a wild card and just doing whatever he wants. So, and that hasn't necessarily, that's cost Butcher his friends in the past. Like you said, B. Thompson, it cost him a chance at Homelander. Is this guy going to be necessarily good for Butcher? I don't think so. But I understand where he's coming from in terms of we don't want Homelander 2.0. So let's try and take action on this now. But at the same time, I feel like I said, it's just he won't treat Ryan with, you know, humanity, you know.
And I think Butcher, like, obviously he's on the edge, right? Because he made the cookies. He made the cookies that he was going to give to Ryan. And then, at the last second, which I think that was my favorite scene between the first 3 episodes. I mean, when Ryan goes over and they like play foosball and have a heart to heart, I was like tearing up because it felt so genuine. And I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think Ryan's acting is incredible for being as young as he is. Like his sad moments where he's got to be upset that he's killed somebody. Like he was okay in the beginning here. He's like a soft-spoken, teenager. And then like him holding back, like, and stuttering, becoming sad, speaking about killing somebody. I thought he was incredible. And then obviously Butcher sends it right back. He comes clean with, you asked me earlier if I was scared of dying. I'm terrified. And it's because the last piece of Becca, I might not leave things where they're right. And I've destroyed every other part of my life. So I thought this was great. Him going over to the cookies and throwing it out too. That was amazing. I loved Ryan. I love his character.
He also is very good at faking smiles too. Like, when he's in those sad moments and he has to put on a smile in front of his dad, or if he's in front of the media and he doesn't want to be there, but he still has to put on the smile. I think he's good at also displaying the fact that it's not a genuine smile. It is a fake smile. But I'm with you, Paul, because for me, Ryan had been like up and down. Like I like Ryan overall as a character. He definitely brings a level of complexity to this show that I think the show needs, not necessarily needs, but it's very good for the show. But I haven't decided whether I'm team Ryan or not team Ryan, but that moment for me, and like I had said too earlier, Butcher had been losing brownie points with me, but that scene really brought them both up as a unit for me, because yes, Butcher was finally able to show his vulnerability to Ryan for the first time in his life, it feels like, since Becca was killed, that he was able to open up to someone. And I'm glad that showed a level of maturity for Butcher, even though his clock is ticking. And I just love the growth for Ryan, that it still shows that, okay, he hasn't quite yet been on the same mindset as Homelander, because at the end of season 3, when Homelander does kill that guy, Ryan does crack a smile. Like there was a moment of like, okay, Ryan could easily be into this as well.
Yeah.
But this kind of puts me back onto, okay, Ryan is still salvageable, or savable rather.
We also have to remember that while not nearly to the extent that Homelander was brought up, Ryan was very sheltered in that weird community that his mom raised him up in. Like, I doubt he was going to a normal public school and all that. Like, he was probably just him and his mom. So he probably doesn't have a great idea of the outside world. So obviously seeing Homelander laser beam that dude, terrible, but like crowd starts cheering. He's like, oh, this is cool. They're excited for my dad.
So this is normal. Oh, that's cool.
He's still learning.
Yeah. And he's got this really interesting aspect that I didn't think he was going to have at all, but they keep talking about it is, Homelander keeps calling him the chosen one, right? You're the first natural born soup. Like, you are the chosen one. You have to step up whether you like it or not. And I didn't see that coming at all. That's like a cool, almost prophecy, but not prophecy, like scared of stepping into that, like, kind of theme throughout his character arc. I'm sure he's going to have to decide whether or not he does step up or not. So it's just something that I wasn't prepared for, but I mean, he almost feels like the key part of the show right now. I feel like so much revolves around
100%.
him.
Well, he is the de facto contingency plan for Homelander. There's really nothing else that could even, I guess, Newman,
and
the head
for the
popper,
boys,
and maybe Marie, but
and he's de facto he's a fallback for also the boys. I mean, they've said it, I think it was last season. They were like, granted, Ryan's a few years away from beating Homelander, but if it comes to it, we need to have Ryan on our side, so he's not just that fallback for Homelander and Newman, but everyone. So he is absolutely 100% the glue right now of this show, I would say.
So I want to keep going along with this Ryan stuff. Like I said in the beginning, we're going to be jumping around all 3 episodes. We're not hitting this chronologically. Paul, you were talking about the chosen one. Ryan is the chosen one. It was also Sister Sage. We're going to get to her in a little bit. That was kind of like, no, we can't market him as the homeboy, like Homelander's sidekick. He is his own thing. He's the first natural born soup, yada, yada, yada. So it was Sister Sage that kind of was like, let's get him on the beat. Let's have him going out there and starting to fight crime on his own. I thought this is maybe the second time. I think the Deep had one of these staged crime busts back in season 1 with Starlight, but Ryan gets his own staged crime bust, which hilariously involves Noir and the Deep, but he accidentally kills the guy, and it all goes awry because Homelander cannot quite give up the spotlight, is how I was interpreting him showing up unannounced there.
Definitely.
Dude, yeah.
That was that whole thing was crazy. Paul, I just want to reiterate, I think he's doing a great job acting, because this is not an easy role for a child actor. He's being pulled like in 4 different directions. Am I team Butcher? Am I team Homelander? And he's really pulling it off. But yeah, it's a complex character. And when he just sent the stuntman flying, I was like, Dave, that was one of those like, oh my gosh, I'm watching The Boys right now moments.
It will never not catch me off guard. That's just all I have to say. It's just that moment. We'll get to the Annika moment, but like all these moments, they just fucking blow my mind.
To be honest, I mean, I knew it was coming because the stunt guard was like, on the day I can take it. And it's like, of course, there's going to be, some shenanigans that go down. But again, like you're saying, the brutality of which it happens, like he smacks against the whole building like he's a bug on a windshield. That was nuts.
I think what makes it is just that how instant everything is. It's just it's so realistic in that fact that Ryan pushes that guy, and not even a full second later, his innards are splattered all over that building.
Do we think that happens if Homelander doesn't throw a wrench in the staged crime bust?
No, definitely not. I think it was Homelander doing, first of all, he's messing up the plan. So obviously Ryan's on the spot. He doesn't like being there in the first place. And then like listening to Homelander, his dad go, do it, just do it, do it, do it. And it snaps. So it was definitely Homelander's fault. And I think him jumping in is one, we'd already talked about it. Like he can't give up the spotlight, right? He is the savior of the country. He is better than everybody else. But also this theme that he's going along with this season, which we got introduced to right in the beginning of episode 1, is he pulls off a gray hair from his nether region. So there is a constant theme of him aging. He doesn't age as quick, but he does age, right? So he's freaking out. He's almost, if you want to call it a midlife crisis, you can call it that, but he is very uncomfortable with the fact that he is getting older and won't be around. So I'm sure that played a lot too of, hey, if Ryan comes in, Ryan will replace me, and I don't want to be replaced. So I want Ryan to do well, but he didn't even think about the repercussions of that. So he doesn't want to be pushed out the door.
Do you guys also take it as a fact that his powers are getting weaker because he's under all this stress, or do you just think that it's purely just the stress that's causing him to go gray?
I didn't think that. I think it's just he does age, which they made a point last season to say Soldier Boy did not age. He is going to perpetually stay 30 years old or whatever, but I guess Homelander's powers don't work that way. So it just means even if nobody takes him out, he will die eventually. I guess, but I don't think he's getting weaker because of the stress.
I was a little, and when this first got introduced, I was like, it kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden he has grays, but I mean, it was over a year, and this could be the very beginning of it. And that's why it is hitting him so hard, because he has to come to face with reality. And, the scene where he goes to Sage's place and Sage says, your hairdresser's dyeing your hair more often. You have prostate issues because I can tell you're washing your hands more frequently. So it's got to be you just running to the bathroom more. I mean, she's like Sherlock Holmes almost in a sense. And like you said, Brian, we can dive into her a little bit later because she has a lot to deal with. But yeah, she snuffs out this Homelander insecurity right away.
Well, I think this might be a good chance to dive into Sage and kind of the part that she's going to play, because Homelander seeks her out for guidance because of this midlife crisis. He's like, I have everything. Go ahead.
Almost like a therapist. Like he's freaking out. He's like, you're the smartest person in the world. So he keeps calling her the smartest woman in the world. And she keeps going, smartest person, but okay. Yeah. And he's like, she's the only one that he can accept knows better than him. And even so, he's the only one who he can listen to. She's the only one he can listen to. But even then, he still can't accept it. He knows that she's smarter than him, but he still can't accept that maybe his ideas are wrong.
I think Sister Sage was incredible, and I hate it because her and Homelander, I mean, how can you pair the strongest man or the strongest thing on Earth with the smartest thing on the Earth? It's the combination, the deadliness that these two have presented, the threat level that these two have presented these 3 episodes to me. I'm like shook. I don't know how the boys are going to deal with this. The fact that, like you said, Paul, that she's basically Sherlock Holmes. She can just look at you and probably just know where you've been the past week, how you've been living, who you've been talking to just from looks. It's like you already have Homelander with his supersonic hearing. Now you have someone who has basically just who could see everything. It's unbelievable. And at first I wasn't too crazy about her. I was just like, because she didn't feel like her ability was like something that a soup should have, like just super smartness. But then she's like breaking down Homelander, and then the way she's running Vought from behind the scenes a little bit and making all these changes at the company, it's like, damn, this chick is moving, and she is so good for Homelander. And if you're Team Homelander, like she is definitely making Homelander reach his goals quicker. But for the boys, it's just this chick is such a problem.
I was glad in episode 2 when she led the boys, Kimiko and Frenchie and MM, into a trap, because I'm like, you're the smartest person in the world. You're supposed to be getting all these details, and you're letting these people like they're not even great at being like incognito right now. They're just kind of following you around, and you must have heard of them, right? They're the boys. They've killed the most soups. So like, I was hoping she would recognize them because it did say she had a photogenic memory. So I'm glad that she led them into a trap. But yeah, her intentions right now is it's purely being fueled by Homelander, because he said, "What? Like, how about you? Like, if you team up with me, you can run your experiments pretty much on the rest of the world." And she's like, "Oh, that's interesting. I'm in."
So, and I was kind of perceiving this as they want to start a revolution. Like they want to stir the pot and nudge the public opinion to a breaking point, and then Homelander can kind of swoop in with Sage, I suppose, operating from the shadows and just rule over the wreckage, I suppose. And that kind of seems to be what they're doing. And then there's the Newman of it all, because she could act as their soup president if they get rid of Singer. So there's a lot of things at play here.
And Sister Sage shares similar values, I think, to Homelander in the sense that because she's so smart, she feels that she knows that soups are the evolutionary like point of humans, and that soups should have the power over humans. So it matches her characteristics as well, that she would want to team up with Homelander in this situation. It's not just like, oh, I'm bored. It's like, okay, I can really utilize my powers as well as, you know, make history and put my name out there.
So when they were showing us her card, like her baseball card, and like everything that was on it, it said, you know, advanced engineering, photogenic memory, moderate regeneration, and then hypercognition, whatever. All right. So advanced engineering, I'm wondering if she's going to have like tech tools that she developed, like another superhero, or if, you know, it's just like she's smart. She doesn't build shit. She just like kind of like, I don't know. I'm kind of looking for like a mad scientist.
She seems
kind
to
of
like
vibe.
not have any interest in combat though. So she might just be super tech savvy and have some cool gadgets, but I don't think she wants to get like deep in the weeds, like fighting people with like weapons, if you will.
And then when they were doing all the superhero cards, did you see Dog Knot, our boy from the 100, and he's from Black Sails? I mean, I can't remember his
I love the
name.
actor.
Yeah, but
that's so funny. I didn't catch that.
I was like, please come into play. I want to meet you so badly. I want you to have lines. I just don't want you to be a poster.
Dude, when they do things like that, though, you know there's always a chance that these characters are gonna make an impact. Like, it's the same thing when I vividly think of Gen V when they're going through like the Godolkin like top 50 heroes. There was like a few heroes that were just like thrown in there, but they make appearances later on. It's just like The show is made for this.
Well, I'll tell you what, there was a pretty great A-lister cameo, but we're not talking A-Train quite yet. I think we'll get to that.
That
So
was awesome.
I think all of this Sage stuff, and like I'm saying, they're trying to spearhead a revolution, if you will. I think we just have to kind of break down the Starlighters versus the Home Teamers, or Home Teamers, excuse me, are two factions at play, and they are still crescendoing from last season. Like I mentioned, we're on the heels of Homelander vaporizing that guy, so he is standing trial, and we find it's very Donald Trump, but they find out that he is not guilty, and the Starlighters go crazy, etc., etc. To rewind even a step back, MM's talking to Monique, who has kicked Todd out of the house. Can there be a more satisfying end to a character arc than what happens to Todd in this?
I was so happy. I cannot lie. I cannot lie. I was so happy Todd saw the darkness in Homelander and then bit the bullet. Like, get him out.
Never meet your heroes, right?
For sure. Yep. So, it's Noir, who I don't even know when we're going to talk about Noir, but someone that I think we know is under the mask. I still don't quite know. It doesn't sound like Sam, who I was thinking might take over the Noir mantle. Any guesses?
I don't have a guess. My first guess before we started watching the season was I thought they were going to take the comic book route and kind of make that backstory the show backstory. I don't want to spoil it. I guess it doesn't matter because it hasn't happened, and I think they're not going to do it. But
if it's the comic, don't spoil it. If it is,
you know the theory. Do you know?
I do not. So don't even spoil it for me.
Paul, do you know what I'm talking about?
With
Black Noir.
Yeah,
fine. You can just say it.
I'm not going to say it, just in case. I don't think there's a chance it happens, but just in case, I'm not going to say it, just to save face. But I will also quickly say Black Noir this season was 11 out of 10. I think he is up there in one of my favorite characters in terms of comedy relief. Him and the Deep, man.
Yeah.
Those two are a power couple.
So funny because Noir was comic relief, but he didn't speak, and he's still somehow comic relief. This one completely opposite. Brian, like you said, he is a graduate of Godolkin. So perhaps it is somebody we know. Maybe it was somebody else. But
oh my God.
As of right now, I think it's just kind of a fill-in. I don't know if it's anybody in particular. And
it sounds like they only have gymnastics experience.
He
it's
can't
no
shut
combat.
up. He cannot stop talking.
Where's my fucking direction?
It's like it's got to be someone who is in Homelander's good graces, because he is so yappy and Homelander's just like kind of letting it slide. The only person I can guess is there's one scene when like Sam is going on his rampage during Gen V and Adam Bork is there teaching a class, and one kid gives a monologue and Adam Bork gives him like the slow clap. He's like, this is acting. I feel like it might be that guy who had a nothing role, but like,
would be amazing.
What if they just plugged him?
Oh, I haven't thought too much about who I've always assumed, like, or at least besides the theory that I was going to mention, I just assumed that Black Noir would have been someone we've not met yet. But you're so right; it's got to be someone that we know.
That would be incredible if it was that guy, Brian. Is he narcoleptic? That was the only clue that we got.
True. Yeah, I forgot.
That was the funniest fucking shit. It's like, what's Noir doing? Is he sleeping? I'm narcoleptic. I'm not. It's so fucking good.
Homelander's gotta really like whoever it is, because he's allowing him a lot of slack, which just seems jarring with his current mental state, because he's also getting pissed off at everybody else for brown-nosing him so much and refusing to go against his wishes, to the point where he almost makes the Deep suck off A-Train. And he's like, get the hell off your knees, dude. Have some respect.
Sexuality spectrum, right, bro? Like, right before he goes in. Like, these are the deep lines. Like, we know they're not important to the story, but they're so funny. We need to bring them up.
That's the Butterface scene, too. It's so fucking good. He's like, Butterface.
Yeah,
and explains it. It's like, oh my fucking God, this guy doesn't have any sense of awareness around him.
He's
Deep didn't seem to have too many major plot points. I mean, we all saw it coming. He could not bring himself to get rid of Ambrosius.
Well, you don't think that's a major plot point? Him and Ambrosius?
Well, they're going to make it a major plot point and cram it down our throat. I think the biggest plot point is at the end of episode 3, him and Sister Sage hook up, which was out of nowhere, but I kind of love.
It
He
makes
comes
sense
to
that
like
she would be the smartest person and then wants to fuck this mindless hot person that just who
Mhm.
won't compete and like in her won't belittle her in any way because he's too dumb to say
Mm.
anything back. So I think it works
She
out.
she just demoted him from the head of crime analytics because he let somebody leak info. And he comes in like trying to yell at her the way that Sage taught Deep to talk to Ashley in the first place.
Yeah.
Deep comes
Mhm.
in and he tries taking that advice, doing it back at Sage. And Sage is just like, what the hell? And she is okay. So she's like watching reality TV. She's eating bloomin' onion from Outback, which is that bloomin'
best.
onion? Hell yeah. And he's with the freaking fishnets over his fingers too. I can't imagine.
Licks them.
Yeah, licks
So
it too. Oh,
so they start hooking up and then it pans to like a bloody needle or something like that. I took that
oh
as
yeah, yeah.
she lobotomizes herself to get stupid so she can enjoy things like reality TV.
Yo.
Yo, that
And
was so good because
Oh,
I had that written down because I was like, I have no idea what the fuck that
because
was. Like, did she just murder someone? Oh my
and she
that's a
has
great theory.
she has moderate regeneration, it says. So it's not like she can stab her brain and then all of a
ah.
sudden it's healed 2 seconds later. So I feel like she lobotomizes herself because all the shit that's going on with Homelander. She's told Homelander, like, I know you're not going to be okay with me telling you you're wrong. And
Yeah.
Homelander is like, no, I got it. And then later on, he's like, oh, well, I guess I am that petty. So
Mm.
all this is happening. She's like, screw this. I just want to unwind. Let me shove a needle up my nose, lobotomize myself, and get dumb and happy.
You're a fucking genius, bro. You're a
That
fucking
is a very
genius.
good theory. That is my headcanon until proven otherwise.
Yep.
So, and that's why she's like, look at this hunk of meat coming in. I don't give a shit what the
Dude, that makes
consequences are. Let me hump this.
dude, are you the smartest person in the world, dude?
I am nervous what Ambrosia or what the octopus, what she's gonna do. How's she gonna handle this breakup?
I don't think it's going to be that easy. Homelander's going to find Ambrosius and make it the worst possible ending to that storyline.
Oh, like last season. What was it? Eat your friend. Eat
Oh,
Fred or whatever.
What is
yeah,
his
this is
name?
Steve. This is what is the guy's name? He's like eat Tony, not Tony. What is it?
Like, sorry, bro.
Yeah.
That was disgusting.
Eat
And then
fucking
the
Tony.
ink pops in his mouth. Ugh.
Yeah.
That-
So I don't know what's gonna happen with him, but as of right now, I feel like Deep, he doesn't have anything. He's got that like lingering shit of the public thinking he's bestiality right now. So he's trying to stay out of the public. So it seems like he's more comic relief than like main storyline tied in,
Yep.
but he's still a joy.
Well,
Yeah, it's funny
Hard-
how we've gone from just like absolutely hating the Deep to just now finding
Oh,
him
yeah.
to be the funniest, dumbest motherfucker.
Yeah.
so hard transition from the Deep. I want to kind of talk A Train, and I'll put it in the context when they beat Todd and the other two teamers with baseball bats. Homelander uses that as an opportunity to pin it on the Starlighters, saying, "Oh, they killed our most devout home teamers. Like, see, they are resorting to violence." It winds up being A Train who gets the security footage that clears the name of the two Starlighters that they were trying to pin it on and shows that they were miles away at the time of the deaths. So all of this is to say, also realizes this and says, yo, I know when someone is floundering, A Train can be flipped. What are we thinking about A Train? Because I feel like we've kind of been talking about something like this since like season 2.
100%. We thought he was going to flip last season, become a good guy. And then at the last second, he flipped back and like took his seat at the 7 back again.
Yep.
So we were like, oh, screw him. He's bad. But I think it boils down to his brother and his nephews because
Agreed.
that was obviously last season, he doesn't cause the accident, but it was Blue Hawk that ends up going on a rampage and getting his A-Train's brother paralyzed. So that was obviously horrible last season. Repercussions are coming in now. Again, he's telling his nephews, A-Train's no hero. Like Uncle Reggie is honestly a bad guy. I don't want you anywhere near him. He hasn't done one good thing in his life. All of his saves were staged. And I think that's really getting to him. So he obviously feels a little bit of guilt for what he's done or hasn't done. He hasn't really been a hero. So I feel like because of his brother, now he's actually stepping up. And I think this would be a good time to flip.
So I'm still on team. I think A-Train should have died at the end of season 3. I think that would have left a really good taste in my mouth with the whole interaction that him and Hughie had. I mean, sure, Hughie kind of snapped and hit A-Train in the face, but A-Train got the apology out. He gets justice on for his brother in terms of killing Blue Hawk. Like, I think when his heart exploded, I would have been fine with just leaving him out of the story. Now that he's alive and with Blue Hawk's heart, the only way he makes a difference is by having a redemption arc. I think that's the only way this character is salvageable in my head. And I know it's like very the generic route, but to be honest, even though I have been team A-Train should have stayed dead in season 3, I've been very pleasantly surprised with how much I've been enjoying his turn to the good side fully now, with how he's been interacting with MM and how he stuck around. Like how MM was saying, like, you have all these feelings and A-Train's kind of shooting him down, but at the end of the day, he's still standing there talking with MM. Like, these are big moments, I think, for A-Train, and I'm really enjoying them. I'm still not at the point where it's like I still wish, I think, he stayed dead in season 3 just because I just felt like that was a really good, that would have been a good death to have in the show.
I am glad they kept A-Train around. I just really enjoyed the character. I like the actor too, and I think we would have been more tolerant of that plot armor if Maeve had died. You know, the fact that they let both of them live was like, okay,
100%.
The Boys never felt like this kind of a show to protect characters with plot armor. So the Maeve one upset me way more than A-Train.
100%. Definitely.
And I still enjoy A-Train in the show. Dave, I agree. I think they are getting use out of the character, and if he has a redemption arc and can provide the Boys with some good intel, which he already has with the Starlighters, not to mention he's the one that brought down Stormfront back in season 2.
Saved Hughie just in the end of season 3 or episode 3 here.
True
like
that.
I think having a speedster on the Boys side is like such a phenomenal thing to have. Like, I've been getting into these rabbit holes of the DC universe essentially recently, and it's just like the Flash is always like the one person besides Superman. Like, if one person were to go evil, okay, we don't want it to be Superman, but who's number 2? It's the Flash, because of just the damage that kind of power can cause.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that the speedster, because again, he's probably one of the only few people that can outrun Homelander. Maybe we haven't really confirmed that yet, but he got Hughie out of that mess for sure.
I was going to ask, can A-Train run faster than Homelander can fly, do we think? I feel like his power, like, Homelander's too OP.
So I think if they were to just run continuous laps around the Earth, like if it was just one lap, A-Train would win. But I think if you give Homelander the momentum of like more than one lap, I think eventually he catches him. But I think in a quick race, I think A-Train wins pretty handedly.
Yeah, I think A-Train wins, but I feel like if they fought, if Homelander ever got A-Train off the ground, then that's kind of it.
He's cooked.
Because he can't do anything else.
And now it is time to talk about the A++ cameo of Will Ferrell when Adam Bork is directing the movie that was alluded to by Ashley, where he is coming up in the Bronx slinging that yayo.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell just being overly like campy in this fake role is just, come on, A-Train. Are these really your people? Is this who you want to be doing? And do you want to be defined by slinging that yayo? And like, it is just such a campy vault production, and I loved it. Shout out to Will Ferrell for just taking this role too. I'm sure he had a blast doing it.
Do you smell that? I smell an Oscar nomination. Shut up. I'm gonna go watch that take.
Am I going too blindside? No.
When is that a bad thing?
I love that it's Coach Brink too. Like, this guy's on the brink, right? I gotta save him, gotta bring him back. And it's just it's perfect. He's so good. Damn it, Reggie. You're the most talented hero I know.
Yeah.
Now you're throwing away slinging yayo for gangbangers. Beautiful. And of course, Adam Bork. I mean, he's just amazing.
I always love seeing him. A piece of the Boys trivia for you. Who was Ashley thinking of for the role that went to Will Ferrell?
Oh, I was just thinking that she does not say Will Ferrell in the moment, but she says specifically doesn't like that he's too busy or he's just like thinking about it or something like that. Like
We're
I think
thinking Tom Hanks for the role
that's
of
what it
your
was.
trainer.
That's what it
Oh,
was.
that's
Yes.
awesome that they did reference that.
When I
Because
saw
they also said at that moment, like, okay, we got Tom Hanks, but he's not sure if he wants to do it or whatever. But so they ended up getting Will Ferrell. So that's even better. It's even better.
What I love Rourke coming in at the end, and he was like, "Oh yeah, one more thing, A Train. You said what I want doesn't matter. It's actually what I want don't matter." And A Train's just shut the fuck up.
So good.
the worst, but also the best.
And then
Okay,
real
go ahead.
quick, this was another instance of Noir's trying to talk to A Train, and A Train's just like, dude, Noir's brain dead idiot. Just shut up and do your fucking job. So just I swear, like I feel like Noir's gonna have a moment where he's out in front of cameras and he's gonna speak. He's gonna lose it and he's gonna speak and go on a whole dialogue, and it's gonna cause like
No
all
one in
these
this
issues.
company has told me what my direction is.
Yeah, he's gonna freak out.
So they haven't really addressed if within what am I trying to say? They haven't really addressed if Vought it's a known thing that there are multiple noirs, like one dies and another one takes up the mantle, or if the company is trying to pass it off as it's always been the same noir. Point being, if he talked, would that blow his cover, or does the public know the old noir is gone? We have a new noir, so it doesn't
No, I
matter that
don't.
he talked.
I do not think the public knows that old Noir is gone. I think they are under the presumption that this Noir has been the same one since Soldier Boy.
I agree.
But I don't think, and I guess to layer that, I don't think they would necessarily know about his accident that made him not be able to speak. I think if he comes out and talks, like people would be shocked, obviously, because he's never spoken before. But it wouldn't be like to the point where like people would be like, "Oh my god, he's actually speaking because of that horrific accident back in the day." Like I think they would just be like, "Okay, so he does actually have the ability to speak." That's just my thoughts. Yeah.
All right. Who
I was gonna
else?
s-
Ooh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Any more superheroes that we should talk about? I feel like before we jump into the boys and start breaking down their storyline, I feel like besides Ashley in Vought, like she wanted to. The last thing we saw, she was going to put in her resignation right before she stepped on Cameron Coleman's balls. But after she saw her name was Annika, the crime analytic tech. When she saw her get lasered, she's like, I can't possibly escape. They will kill me without a doubt. So she's going through it right now.
We have also seen Ashley be capable of being a good person because she had sympathy, or she was sympathizing with Maeve. I mean, when she was the one at the end of season 3 who saw on camera that Maeve was actually alive, deleted the video. I think she's tried working with, or Starlight's reached out to her, and like she's had these moments where it's like you can reach out for help, Ashley. You don't have to just latch to Homelander, but she's too afraid. Ashley's another contention of like, could she hop sides? Not that she would make a big difference for the boys. Like I obviously think that dynamic would obviously probably not work at all, but like, could she do something that would help them in the end, make a sacrifice of some sort? I think she could be capable of that, having such an in at Vought and knowing actually being the former CEO for however long it was, she could definitely provide some very detailed information for our squad.
I love Ashley. She's so funny. She makes me laugh. It's a terrible place to be now that the Deep is even talking down to her. Like,
Oh yeah,
she is down so bad, but she kind of dug her own grave. Last season,
100%.
Starlight gave her a couple opportunities to really get out and do the right thing. Like, Homelander's insane. Join me. Come on. And she said, no, I'm going to be the CEO of Vought. So,
the whole BDSM thing is so funny too with her, and that I don't even know his name
Cameron
anymore.
Coleman.
But I had to bring up the scene because she literally says prom night dumpster baby, and how can I not think of Family Guy when she says that? I don't know if that was a call to Family Guy, but that was
she
amazing.
also talks about, she was like, Disney's been trying to get me for years. I'm a girl boss. So she was gonna go to Disney. Wild.
All right. I mean, with regards to other soups, we haven't talked about Firecracker yet, who just seems weak, but she is being used for her ability to get the masses riled up and her extreme political ideologies. I mean, she's just plucking quotes out of like QAnon stuff, like saying the most ridiculous stuff. Tom Hanks and Oprah are running like a pedophilic cabal and stuff like that. All that sort of stuff. But we can see how that would be of use to Homelander and Sister Sage.
The Boys reminds me of the One Piece. Reminds me of One Piece in the sense that they will introduce characters that like right off the rip, I'm gonna hate your guts. Like Firecracker, like you're talking shit on my girl Starlight. Like I hate you already. Like who are you? Just spewing this nonsense. And then of course we get the backstory of, well, Starlight actually ruined my childhood. And it's like, now I feel bad for you. I didn't want to feel bad for you, but holy shit, now I do. Starlight's a horrible person. Fuck, man. I did not expect that turn, to be honest.
Fuck Starlight.
Yeah, I mean, that's
unforgivable.
Dude,
like
I
don't want to hear that about Starlight, but
yeah, me neither.
And even she didn't want to hear it. Like she's just like, I was a completely different person. You can tell she feels bad about it. But yeah, she 100% was a mean girl who bullied to win. And she blamed it on her mom, saying my mom raised me to be vicious. I'm sure there's some validity in that, but I mean, she's still her own person, make your own decisions. And she didn't, I think a big thing is she didn't even recognize Firecracker. She didn't even
that's the other thing.
Recognize this person's life that she destroyed. So she destroyed a life without a second thought. So yeah, you can 100% see where Firecracker gets her drive from, but at the same time, she doesn't believe the bullshit that she's spitting. She's spitting all this nonsense just to try to take Starlight down and the Starlight house, and saying
that's her role.
Children in the basement, and that guy walking in with a gun was just insane. But
yeah.
You know, it's sad to think that somebody would actually probably do that if he got robbed. I mean, was that a direct call to like the walk on Capitol Hill?
I was kind of thinking that, but I don't think so.
I
feel like we're gonna have a moment like that, honestly, at some point in the season, knowing the boys and how much they reference the pop culture politics. Like I wouldn't put it past it, but it kind of came to my mind.
Anyway.
They leave it to the audience to draw a lot of these comparisons, but they're beating around the bush for a lot of the stuff that's going on currently politically in the real world.
Two soups I actually want to touch on really quickly. Newman's daughter, that was fucking crazy. Yeah, she is like an actual monster. Like when Hughie was telling Newman, like, you've raised a monster, like your daughter is a monster. Like she killed two men right there, no hesitation, with her snake mouth. Like
disgusting. Oh my God, it was nasty. She didn't like feel grossed out about this. Like she just got this power, and I was begging to find out what her power was, because all last season I was saying, I hope like Newman shut up her daughter, and now her daughter has like one of the terrible powers that turn her into a puddle of water. And and it's not that extreme. Like it's not like the diabolical like house for orphans who killed their parents, Hootie and the Blowfish speakerhead type bad.
Yeah.
But this is pretty bad. So I was like kind of happy because it's gross. But Zoe, I think her name is Zoe.
Yeah.
She didn't hesitate at all. I mean, I don't know. She seemed like a normal teenage girl, and then all of a sudden she got these powers, and all of a sudden she's cool with eating faces. It's nuts to me.
Newman's just raised her. I feel like she's just been spewing her this talk of, you know, Homelander's out to get us kind of stuff. You can't trust anybody. You got to use your powers when you need to. And I don't think Newman's even realized it, but yeah, she's made her daughter a monster now that she's officially murdered two people. Like, okay, if she just had a snake mouth, whatever, and was good, fine. But she just murdered two people. Like,
the thing that stuck out to me was she was handling Kimiko as well. She was messing up Kimiko's arm. And I think one-on-one, she looked to have the advantage over Kimiko. So she is, even as a teenager, a very strong soup with this power. So, I mean, just add it to the list of problems for the boys.
And then the last soup I want to bring up is Newman, just because holy fuck, she's strong, man. Like I thought it was just going to be head popping. Yeah. Like a little bit of strength and whatever, but bulletproof, like invulnerability, they were saying, like
Yeah.
Dude, she might actually be now the second strongest hero that we've been introduced to besides Homelander.
It's insane. They were going, the whole plan in the openings
Acid, yeah. I mean,
was to put like acid in her eye drops, so she immobilize her powers so she can't use her head popping ability, but it didn't work at all. Hughie threw acid on her, and the thing she was upset about was that it ruined her outfit. So I was like, where did this come from? This is crazy.
yeah,
But
not a,
it does lend a little bit to Zoe and why Zoe, her own DNA, I guess, doesn't have the same power, but similar like invulnerability aspect to it,
strong.
can take on Kimiko. Because I was like mad about that. I was like, that's a teenager that just got her power. Kimiko's been around like training, fighting for a while. How can she take her out? But she's related to Newman. Like obviously there's some relation in those genes to the transfer of power. So just nuts though.
Yeah.
Well, we're on the topic of soups and their powers. Starlight can fly, so we're finally seeing some signs of life there. I've always complained that Starlight is so underpowered and really can't do much of anything against other soups. So I'm glad they're giving her something.
I remember season 2 when they were going to like in the asylum, and they're outside in the van, like is dead. And Butcher's like, use your powers. And she's like, I can't. I need a source of energy. We were all like, what? That's how limited you are?
Yeah.
We didn't know the extent of what you can or couldn't do, but we were like, that's a horrible weakness. And then last season, her big moment in the finale was when she did like fly for the first time. And it was supposed to be epic and it was supposed to be big, but she kind of flew up in the air and then got shit on immediately. So we were like, what the hell? So we need Starlight, like what you're saying, Brian. We need Starlight glow up. We need her to like really do something superpower wise to like lend to at least put her back in the eyes that we had her in initially in season 1. Even at the end of season 2 when she's stomping on Stormfront and all that other shit. But I mean, she's the best. It's great. I will say it's good to see her and Hughie actually back together in a good relationship again. I hated all that shit last season when they were like fighting, didn't like each other.
Yeah.
That's like the first time we've mentioned Hughie, and he doesn't have too much going on through these episodes other than the appearance of his mom. His dad goes down in a coma in the hospital from a stroke, and his mom has the power of attorney. Not gonna lie, I'm getting very much Starlight's mom vibes from her. I don't like her.
Yeah, I definitely did not like her either. I feel definitely bad for her. I don't want to talk too much.
You want to dunk on her after she just comes clean?
All I'm going to say is that I'm just not a fan. I mean, yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
That's all
I agree. Obviously, her depression. She was talking about how she almost basically tried to kill herself and then, saved herself and then left Hughie immediately after. Obviously, she was fighting a battle every day. But when she comes in and like sees Hughie for the first time in all those years, and she acts like, oh, let me get my potions and let me get these scents out and stuff. I'm like, why do you think that's okay to act like that? You thought you were going to walk in and everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So like, I get like the past, if you had issues, like you had to do something to save yourself and obviously save Hughie from being around something terrible. I can see that, but you're acting like what you just did wasn't completely shitty. Like when she walked into the hospital.
The first thing you do is apologize profusely and explain this is why it happened. I owe you an explanation. And that would have been a much better character introduction.
Yeah.
We didn't get that until episode 3. So she just seems a little squirrely. And Dave, I don't want to dunk on her because she went through it as well. That's not an easy decision to make. But even when she did resurface, I don't think she approached it very well. Hughie was understandably upset, was kind of like yelling at you. You think you could just come out of the woodworks and now you make all the calls for my dad? Absolutely not. I'm going to take you to court. She's like, can you settle down? Use your Andor voice. I'm like, girl.
And also, she also has power of attorney, so it's like you're gonna give the mom who was basically diagnosed as depressed and has not been around for 10 plus years of Hughie's life, the power of attorney of another person when she can barely take care of herself. It's like,
That's a good
they
point.
explained that because her and the dad had rekindled over the past year or
but
two, I
still,
think.
like she was depressed. Like you're
mention-
still gonna put this weight of another human
Well,
being on her shoulders. Like Hughie's
potentially
the
not
responsible.
anymore. Maybe she's no longer depressed.
I'm just
Maybe
trying to
she's on
dunk on her when I
vacations. The
can, but
dad. I want to, I hope she becomes a more palatable character. I just wasn't a fan of her introduction, and
especially for the hype that was built around who she was going to be. Like there were thoughts that like Hughie's mom was a potential soup, like all this stuff, like all these crazy theories that Hughie's mom. And then here she is, just like a regular person, and she's a regular person that I already don't like off the rip. So a little disappointing for Hughie's storyline, I will admit. But yes, B-Times, I agree. I hope that they make her a little bit more palatable. Right now, I don't really understand her role in the show, I guess, so far.
I feel like we all think that Hughie deserved better than what he got.
100%.
so I guess we can talk about. They really only meet up the one time, Butcher and Newman. We're jumping around because we're just trying to cover all the storylines that are left over. Newman essentially asks Butcher for Hughie's Red River notes on her, revealing her as the head popper as collateral in any agreement that they would make in good faith. I believe Butcher asks her for help with Ryan, and he offers protection from Homelander and like the CIA who's trying to kill her. This all culminates in him sending her a picture of his asshole, which is fantastic. I thought he was going to send her the information. So I was like, all right, Butcher, way to be. Don't sell Hughie out anymore.
That was beautifully done by the writers, because the same thing. We just all of last season, Butcher was like going back and forth whether or not to do the right thing, and then usually he went and did the wrong thing. So like we're seeing the progression. He's still on the fence, but he's tend to done the right thing these past 2 episodes, and we've seen obviously him talk to his ex. What's her name? For some reason, I can't think of it. Becca. I was trying to say Gina for some reason, and I was like, that's 100% not right.
No.
Gina.
Becca. So like he's having conversations. He's seeing Becca, and she seems to be his like voice of reason almost. He calls her his angel, but we also see something moving under his skin. And we obviously see his ears bleeding. We saw that from the Temp V last season. That's the reason he's only got a little bit to live. But now there's like a parasite in his head. So that's crazy.
I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah, I didn't notice it either.
That's also the mechanism of action of Compound V in general. When you get injected, it kind of like scurries under your skin.
Okay.
But you think confirmed parasite or something?
If there's some Temp V left over and it's going through a system and that was the ripple of skin, I can see that. But I definitely took it like there was a worm-like creature crawling through his skin, and I didn't know if they pull that out, if somehow that gets rid of all the cancer. But I would say it doesn't, because even when Homelander saw Butcher, he was like, "Oh wow, look at that big ball of black mass around your brain. Like, how long do you have? How are you even standing here?" So I feel like this parasite, I don't know. I hope it doesn't it's not like Alien where it jumps out of his body and goes into somebody else's.
Manifestation. It just becomes a manifestation of Temp V and is just a living organism of Temp V.
Yeah, like a bug on superpowers, like a mutant bug. I don't know, and like I have no idea where it's going. It's crazy.
Could. I feel like one story that I can think of that we haven't really touched on is Frenchie, because this one was probably the darkest story of the entire season so far, I would say, in terms of Frenchie. So we knew at the end of last season that Kimiko and Frenchie had kind of established that, okay, we kissed and we can both agree that it was weird. It was weird because we are a little bit more than that. We are like family. So that's why it's weird. So we kind of knew at the end of season 3 that Kimiko and Frenchie weren't going to end up together. And we see here in episode 1 that Frenchie does have a new lover. Yes, boo, I agree. Like those two, it's Moncur for life. Like, come on. I agree. But I do like seeing Frenchie like have a new love interest. But the whole twist on the thing is that Frenchie has been weird around this new love interest named Colin. And we find out that Frenchie, I don't know how long ago it was. Maybe you guys can remind me, or maybe they didn't say, but has killed Colin's entire family. I guess while maybe working under little Nina potentially. But geez, that was a devastating, because I truly did believe, I was like, okay, maybe he just thinks that Colin's too good for him. Like he has this, because he looks at the graduation picture and it's like, okay, this kid's just like a normal guy, maybe. And so I was thinking, all right, he can't be with a normal guy, but that's so much deeper than that. And I can't.
Yeah, I killed those 3 people in the picture.
Oh my God, I was shook, man. I don't know how Frenchie gets, not that he needs to get out of this, but
when he FaceTimes Sherry and she's like, naturally you're hooking up with this guy, of course, right? Like, and he's like, yeah, well, you know.
That's brutal. When I was trying to figure out what was going on, I was like, maybe he's distancing himself from getting close to anybody because he doesn't want little Nina to come back. And I was like, holy shit, I was so wrong. Little Nina made him kill his entire family. And that's fucking insane. And I don't know how. I mean, they talked about how this started. They met in AA and they just kind of went from there. But like, Frenchie, what the fuck, bro? Like, you really stepped in it in this time.
I
just know.
I don't see how this works out well for Frenchie,
I have
why he would seek this out anyway for himself. Although he does love just punishing himself for his fucked up past, so this is kind of his MO.
I have a weird feeling that like he might die this season for some reason. I hope he doesn't.
Colin or Frenchie?
Frenchie. I love Frenchie. And I have a weird feeling that Butcher might freaking die too at the end of this season.
I don't know about the end of this season, but Butcher's definitely not going to be a character in the boys by the end.
Yeah. But like, just when Frenchie was obviously seeing shit on the drugs while Kimiko was going through the whole Rising Sun, cell that popped up, and she sees that one girl with the scars. We can talk about that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But he sees little Nina at the end, and he sees all the dead bodies he's killed, and she's telling him, you know it, you're a monster, you're a murderer, you're a terrible person. So I just feel like, I don't know, I hope that doesn't lead to Frenchie sacrificing himself to do something good because he knows he can't live with himself.
Yeah, I think little Nina or Sherry put it perfectly in the sense that, like you just said, B-Toms, that he wants to punish himself. So I think he probably recognized Colin at the meeting and was like, let me try and be nice to this guy, knowing what I've done in the past. And then they probably had a conversation, and it's like, God, maybe this guy's nice. I like him a little bit. And in its own self, it's a twisted form of punishment, but he did allow himself to get too close to this guy, which he should not have if he recognized him in the first place. But this is a tough pickle to be for Frenchie, because love our boy Frenchie, man.
This is a good jumping off point to talk about Frenchie's other half, Kimiko, whose storyline kind of, Paul, you said revolves around, is it the Shining Light Army or
Rising Sun? Rising Light?
Well, I feel like Rising Sun is what people refer to as Japan. There's like a Medal of Honor Rising Sun video
Shining
game.
Light? Yeah. Is it Shining Light or something?
I think you're right.
We're all talking about the same thing. Where they found Kimiko, the child trafficking militia out of Korea or an Asian country, we should say. So her story has always been, well, since she's turned to the good side, we are not defined by our past. I am not who I was anymore. It's also really nice to see Kimiko going to therapy for her diagnosed mutism, even though she is not taking to therapy very kindly. And that's kind of what pushes her to confront the Shining Light Army, whatever it's called. That was a very funny scene where Frenchie is tripping balls and she's just like kicking ass.
The ducks or what is it? Like there was like the plastic ducks
slits
quacking.
a throat and it's
bubbles are coming out.
Ducks coming out.
And so the French music in the background too. It was great. And then you get a quick flash of the real thing with blood spraying everywhere.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
And then she's going through it right now because when they go to the Truth Con or whatever, and run into Firecracker, that whole thing, she just like slams 8 A-Train beers. So she's like drunk that entire time. So she's got to face her past. But we see this new character who clearly has a history with Kimiko. And I guess it's probably just someone who she was raised with in the Shining Light cell when she was a kid, maybe alongside her brother. We don't really know. I wasn't getting the feeling that she was a soup because we didn't see her use her suit powers unless I missed it and they were like exchanging blows and she was like withstanding it. But I didn't really have that girl pegged, as we're not supposed to.
She just might be strong because she was like fighting with Kimiko.
That's really all I took. That's what I thought, is that at base she's strong, but if she could not have powers either, because you're right. I don't think she really showed like an absurd amount of strength, though.
I'm trying to think back to season 2 when we met her brother. I don't think we saw anybody else with them. I think all we saw was those two coming up together. So this might be somebody that we've seen before, but I highly doubt it. It's like your guys saying, I think it's just somebody that went through what she went through, but she never escaped. So her only way to survive was to become one of the members of the gang or association or whatever it is.
Anything else on Kimiko, Frenchie, or really any of the boys?
I think last season we got Kimiko trying to talk and we got that whole musical number, but it wasn't real. I feel like we might, I mean, if she's going to speech therapy, maybe she does talk at the end of the season, which will be interesting, but maybe she can talk and then that saves Frenchie somehow. But if she does, I will miss her sign language that she has because she's so funny. Because when she was talking to Frenchie, she's like, yeah, Hughie helped me. I went to the computer and I found these guys sell. That's right. I'm a hacker. And like sign language. It was great. She's wonderful.
That's funny.
The last comment I guess I have is I recognize, Paul, I don't know if you caught this either. For Vought on Ice, the male singer was from Big Mouth, the gay kid, Matthew, I think his name is, from Big Mouth, how he sings and everything. Yeah, the Vought male character and that sing. I don't know how you didn't catch that. Like the voice was, I was like, oh, this is easily Matthew from Big Mouth, because I was just like, oh, it's surprising to see that he's made his way down to the boys from Big Mouth.
That's awesome. And we touched on that scene a little bit. That was just the whole Vought on Ice, just everybody dying, getting sliced.
The voice came on. I was like, that sounds so familiar. And then I'm just picturing Matthew from Big Mouth singing like TV star. Yeah, he's just like crushing it. So that's really all I have. But man, it's good to be back. And we almost made your deadline, B Times. We almost got it under an hour.
No, I think we're actually making great time. Realistically, an hour and a half was where I really wanted to keep it under. I do think it's worth highlighting a little bit that whole Vought on Ice. It's hilarious that was the backdrop, but there is an important meeting between Homelander, Sage, and Newman, whereby they officially offer, hey, let us take care of Bob Singer so you can have plausible deniability when he dies. You know, you can keep your hands completely free of that. In exchange, though, you need to come out as a soup when you are the president.
Yeah. Wild. I mean, they're trying to take over. They literally said, yeah, and before you know it, like, we make the whole government revolve around soups. And that would be a crazy end goal, because Homelander, I mean, we get him at the end of episode 3. He's saying, you know what you got to do? You got to shed that last bit of humanity that you have in you. So, I mean, he might straight up want to massacre everybody.
I always love those Green Goblin, Homelander mirror scenes.
Yes, I always think of Green Goblin.
Which it started because he got in a fight with Ryan. And just to highlight that real quick, that was just wild argument, because Homelander's a father, but he's also a child. So just seeing him and then all of a sudden break down saying, why aren't I good enough for you? That was crazy to see. And he starts acting just, I mean, top notch. Everything he does, he goes onto the roof after he can't find Hughie. He just does like a snarl. He's like, but he does so evilly and great. Oh God, he's so good. And the last thing I'll say about that scene, that whole Vought on Ice scene, I was bummed that Homelander didn't hear Hughie above him.
I was
mean,
thinking the same thing, man. I was thinking this, like, if Hughie even leans on the metal at any way and it squeaks at all,
his
Homelander knows he's
heartbeat.
up there.
I mean, he
It was
hears
cool
people.
seeing that he knew right away from the smell of the sweat that it was Hughie. Like,
That was cool.
that's
I
cool,
agree.
but I agree. He should have been able to hear at least, like, especially when he's like, we've seen his hearing be ridiculous in the past. And like when Huey's just like up in the rafters, he could have at least like been lasering where he heard Hughie running, and he's instead of like looking around like, where is this guy? So that was like one little thing that definitely rubbed me the wrong way. For sure.
That almost felt like plot armor that Hughie got away or didn't even get caught in the first place, because even when he looks up and Hughie is running away, that's Homelander, dude. He's just gonna run and get you like that. I was a little bummed out, but it was cool to see. The only way he actually did get away was because of A-Train. So that was interesting, but I don't want another plot armor thing like that. Homelander,
I agree.
Like you were saying, Dave, we've seen instances of his hearing insane. We saw him in season 2 when he was in Becca's compound where he was raising Ryan. People on watching the security footage were speaking, and Homelander in the middle of the compound looked at the security camera and was reacting to what they were talking about.
Yes.
So like, how the hell did he not hear Hughie's heart above him?
But I agree.
That was it. That's all I had so far in the downside.
2 things I want to bring up too, now that we're talking about Vought on Ice again. MM is really becoming Butcher to me, at least the way that he was demanding Hughie show him respect, maybe not even just respect, just listen to everything that he says, no matter what it is. And even going as far as to say, yes, sir. And so I think, unfortunately, our boy MM is heading down that Butcher path right now, but I think he'll be able to catch himself because he is just that mature and caring of a guy about others, that he's not going to just be this dick the whole time. Like Butcher even said it, like he's very empathetic towards everyone. So I think we'll see him step back a little bit. Last thing I have here is, it's funny because I think we did a season 3 recap talk with all of us binge towners, all 7 of us. And so I'm going back and I'm looking at my notes, and it's season 4 wish list. I have 3 notes here. One of them I don't really understand, but one of them is Butcher death. So Paul, I guess I was with you that Butcher is going to die at the end of the season. And then the second one is Hughie and Annie adopting Stillwell's child. If you remember the teleporter.
Teddy, yeah.
Oh my God.
So that was the one. That. And then my last one is Homelanderites, which I don't really know why I wrote that. I guess it's funny that I came up with the idea of Homelanderites when they're now called Home Teamers, right?
Teamers, yeah.
No, but Hughie and Annie adopting Stillwell, I want that to now happen. That'd be so cool.
We did have a Stillwell name drop when Sage suggested to Ashley, you should just pop those bad boys out and start lactating for Homelander, just like Stillwell did to appease him. But I don't expect that. Is
Firecracker going to be doing that?
Well, Firecracker wants to be doing that, it seems, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm good though. That's everything that I wanted to say. I feel like I'm good. I got it all out.
Wait, I'm looking at my list now and what I wanted for season 4.
Yeah, let's pull it up, boys. Let's pull it up.
It says Newman's daughter. I wanted to see Newman's daughter's power, which we did, and holy shit. And I wanted Roger, the camera guy, to still be in it, because at one point when Homelander is like freaking out on stage when he's saying, "No, I'm better, I'm stronger," he goes, "Roger, don't you fucking change it," or something like that. Lets me go out. So I wanted to know if Roger was still alive or if he got lasered.
Have we seen Roger? We can't. Yeah, I don't think we've seen Roger yet. So looks like Homelander could have killed him right after that moment.
All right. I was just able to find my wish list. Number 1 was Homelander sparring with Ryan. Number 2 was Stan Edgar works with the boys. Haven't heard from Edgar yet.
Haven't heard from Edgar in a while. They did mention it, or at least Newman brought up the name Edgar, and so someone else did too. Yeah.
And then my number 3 was a zombie Noir, which it seems like he just got recast. So I don't think we're getting zombie Noir, but I still maintain I would love to see Edgar working in cahoots with the boys.
We got some
Definitely.
good ones there. That's so funny that we were able to find that.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was quick. I'm glad.
Yeah, I got my
was able
boys
to.
ranked. I got my bottom 3 characters. I got my top 3 soups. This is definitely all going to change. We'll keep this up. I'm going to keep this for our season 4 ending. See what
All right.
changes.
Dave, you said you're good. Paul, you good?
Yeah, very hyped for watch episode 4. I feel like the biggest cliffhanger we got was Homelander talking about shredding that last bit of humanity. So I want to see his plans.
Absolutely. Well, the 3 of us are going to hop off and play some Vault Tournament of Champions. So we have a fun night to look forward to. That looked like a great game, by the way. But that is going to be a wrap on the first 3 episodes of The Boys. Like I said in the beginning, they're not all going to be like this. Once they start coming out 1 episode per week, we'll do deep dives. It'll be a little bit more organized, chronological, but that was a fun one. It's great to be back talking The Boys. And as always, if you like what you heard, give Bingetown TV a follow on Twitter and Instagram. Visit us on bingetowntv.com and subscribe to our show on Spotify, YouTube, the Apple Podcast app, or wherever else you may find your podcast. Once again, we are Bingetown TV, and thanks for listening.
I'm just a prom night dumpster baby.